this question, is there cause for optimism? The answer is it depends on where you placed your bets. If you placed your bets on male-dominated institutions based on consumer fetishism, propaganda, classism, and materialism, then God help you, you should call your broker. If, on the other hand, you've recognized that a lifeboat strategy is involved here, that what is really important is empowering personal experience, backing off from consumer object fetishism, freeing the mind, empowering the imagination, then in that case, I think you can feel pretty good about what is going on. There's a lot of talk about cultural death and disenfranchisement, and it's usually couched in terms of some happy naked people in the rainforest or in Tajikistan making their rugs or milking their camels or something. And isn't it too bad that their culture is being blown up and traded in for mall culture and shopping by remote? But in fact, all culture is being destroyed. All culture is being sold down the river by the sorts of people who want to turn the entire planet into an international airport arrival concourse. And that's not the victory of somebody's culture over somebody else's culture. Nobody ever had a culture like that. That's just the victory of schlockmeisterism and crapola over good taste and good sense. Well, if I were dependent on the notion that human institutions are necessary to pull us out of the ditch, I would be very despairing. As I said, nobody's in charge. Not the IMF, the Pope, the Communist Party, the Jews. No. Nobody has their finger on what's going on. So then why hope? Isn't it just a runaway train out of control? I don't think so. I think the out-of-controlness is the most hopeful thing about it. After all, whose control is it out of? You and I never controlled it in the first place. Why are we anxious about the fact that it's out of control? I think if it's out of control, then our side is winning.
Cheering today as world peace has been achieved and mass starvation is now a thing of the past. So people have lots to be proud of. Be sure to watch tonight. We have a breaking news story. Technology has officially ended world hunger.
All right, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tyson Austin Eberly, and I'm your host. You're watching Zeitgeist Live. We are a live public access TV show that happens every night, every Wednesday night, right here in Austin, Texas. Now, generally we're shooting this live, but for this show, we're shooting, just kind of it's almost shooting an entirely post-show. So we've got several interviews that are coming your way. We've got, really, I think it might be one of our best shows. This is our Season 2 finale show. Coming up, we've got interviews with Mr. James Phillips of TZM Education, as well as Oscar Mateo is in the Barcelona chapter. Right now, Barcelona, or Spain in general, is basically under a revolution that's not being picked up by the mainstream media. But it's definitely going down in Barcelona, Madrid, all over Spain, actually. So Oscar is going to be joining us via Skype to give us updates on, what's happening, how's it taking place, what's going on with the police, how's the organization coming together. Really exciting stuff. Then we're also going to be speaking with Mr. David Gaines. David is the Chicago chapter coordinator. They've had, recently, a couple of weeks ago, they had a really good booth, a Zeitgeist booth at the Chicago Green Fest, where they gave out like 500 DVDs. David also got to have an interview with John Perkins. John Perkins gave a presentation at the festival, and so afterward he talked to him, and John agreed to a little interview. So we're also going to be showing that interview for you guys as well. Following that, we're going to be talking with Mr. Scott Keller. Scott Keller is a movement member, or he supports a resource-based economy, and he's also put his name in the hat for the presidential debate, coming up here in 2012. So this is going to be really interesting to speak with somebody who's running for the United States presidency and also supports a resource-based economy. So very interested to see what Scott has to say. Also joining us is Mr. Chad Fisher with his social commentary of the week. This week's topic is going to be the Bible, or religion in general. He's probably going to focus on Christianity since, we live in a Christian country and all. So you guys have got a great show. I would say what we got here, what's in the news, what just recently happened, other than, I would say what's big in the news right now is what's happening in Spain. But Oscar's going to get us all caught up on that. Is Peter Joseph, founder of the Zeitgeist movement, has just recently announced that he has begun work on his 4th documentary film titled Beyond the Pale. This is, I can't really tell you a whole lot, other than what the synopsis says is, I feel like it's going to be similar to Zeitgeist moving forward, where he's going to be focusing on, all the different nuances and factors that have influenced our current cultural conditioning, our current social values as a society, as a whole. So, this is very exciting. The release date is set for, I believe, winter of 2012. Who knows? Maybe he'll be ironic and release it on December 24th, 2012. We'll see. Okay, what we're going to do now, we're going to get into our first segment of the show. This is our Transformative Technology segment. And when we come back from that, we're going to get into our first interview with Mr. James Phillips. Stay tuned.
These are the fastest passenger trains on Earth. Shinkansen, or bullet train, can go 350 kilometers an hour. It's about twice as fast as a passenger train in North America. But they're still not fast enough for the people who run them. We are, at present, trying to implement a railway system that can achieve a speed of 500 kilometers an hour. And this is how they're planning to do it. At this test track a few hours from Tokyo, engineers are testing a new kind of train, one that floats on thin air and uses magnets for power. It's called maglev, magnetic levitation. And Japan is one of the few countries trying to apply the technology to passenger rail.
Our end goal is to come up with a railway system which is reliable, stable, and comfortable, like the present Shinkansen system.
Here's how it works. There are rotating magnets built into the side of the train. There's also a row of magnets on the side of the track. The magnets on the train are aligned so that they're constantly being pulled towards the magnets that attract them and pushed away from magnets that repel them. The train does have wheels, but once it hits 140 kilometers an hour, the wheels are retracted, just like the wheels on an airplane after takeoff. train is then suspended in midair by the magnets, meaning there is no friction to slow it down. The magnetic force is all that's needed to propel it down this test track at jaw-dropping speeds. That was 500 kilometers an hour, about as fast as a plane. But the maglev can go faster than that. Here's what happened in 2003 when engineers tried to hit top speed. This test got them into the Guinness Book of World Records when their train hit 581 kilometers an hour. But engineers didn't build this train and this track to break records. They're trying to build a train that's fast, safe, and economical enough to be used as a passenger train.
The main issues we are now facing include improving durability, developing technology to reduce costs, and finally we are trying to improve the aerodynamics of the train.
So every day, engineers board this train armed with sophisticated instruments. They measure vibration and noise, critical issues if they're going to put passengers on the train and run it through crowded communities. They're also trying to improve the train's acceleration. Right now it takes 1.5 minutes to go from 0 to 500 kilometers an hour. A commuter train has to run under all kinds of conditions too. So the engineers conduct tests in the rain, they run it at night, run it by itself, and they run stability tests to see what happens when two trains traveling at 500 kilometers an hour pass each other.
We were able to achieve a total speed of 1,026 kilometers an hour. That's the combined speed of the two passing trains.
All in all, Japan Rail has put about 500,000 kilometers on their test trains. But right now, the most important number is cost. The idea is to build a maglev line between Tokyo and Osaka, a distance of about 500 kilometers. Maglev would be twice as fast as the bullet train, but at a price. It costs twice as much to build a maglev line than a regular bullet train line. Which means running a maglev between Tokyo and Osaka would cost a whopping $100 billion. So engineers are looking at ways of using fewer magnetic panels, making those magnets cheaper, finding more economical ways to install them. Engineers have overcome all the technological challenges of getting this train up to speed. But unless they can bring down its cost, it may never pick up a single passenger. Japan Rail will study this technology until the end of 2005, and then the government will have to decide if it wants to pay such a high price for this train's high speed.
Joining us now is James Phillips of tzmeducation.org. James gave an excellent presentation. He was one of the main presenters at the main Z-Day in London this year, where he basically went into different relevant education points and how you can target this or customize this presentation for different schools. So not necessarily different schools, but different level of schooling. So like, junior high, high school, even, grammar school or elementary school. The presentation was fantastic, very inspiring, because what he's done is he's made it to where anybody can adopt the presentation themselves and, tweak it or customize it and then take it in to schools in your area. So, we plan on incorporating his material. I would love to be able to start going into schools myself and giving this presentation, and also, maybe add a little robot dance to it or something like that, just to, keep the kids, keep their attentions. But James, how you doing, brother? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. Hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here with us.
Pleasure, man. Good to be on.
All right. So tell us, man, what was the process for you to develop this curriculum? Like, what was your, you had to go, to have gone and done some research and, to just kind of break down the school system and how it's kind of just traditionally how we're either rewarded or we're punished, and the type of, I don't know, blocks this essentially puts upon us. And could you, I don't know, just go into a little detail on how you arrived at TZM Education, and tell us a little bit about what the purpose of it is?
Well, in terms of how I arrived at some of my conclusions from my presentation, I suppose they come from the train of thought we've all been exposed to through the Venus Project, the resource-based economy, and the train of thought involved in the ZEITGEIST movement. But having been a teacher, for several years myself, and sort of needing to try and help facilitate people's learning and realizing, I sort of realized a lot of these things I presented on that day myself anyway, just through intuition, but to see it backed up by science and then needing to go and do some research of my own into what it is that gets students to want to learn something intrinsically rather than need to be rewarded for it was ironically very rewarding learning experience for me. But you've got people like that I came across in my travels, like Daniel Pink and Alfie Cohn, who I based my presentation on Z-Day on, his book Punished by Rewards, which goes into a little bit of what you were talking about and making learning interesting rather than having to reward people to learn, which is a bit asinine considering that's kind of what human beings want to do. Mm-hmm. They want to learn. So yeah, it kind of came born out of that. And I suppose when I really had my eureka moment with this movement, and really sort of wanted to get involved passionately and do something for it, I sort of saw this gaping chasm open in education, which is kind of like, because all the kids I talk to and I teach every day, because I'm a music teacher, and all the kids I teach every day, or I'll have a little chat to about this train of thought, and they really, really get it, man. Sometimes I find like you're talking to adults is really difficult because they're so indoctrinated. It's not a case that kids are gullible or something like that. It's just that adults are so indoctrinated into their culture that they can't see the obvious, sensible notions behind a resource-based economy. And I figure that the next generation are the most likely to be building it anyway, and so as a movement, we should be getting this message across to young people, and that's why I've set up the website.
It makes perfect sense. Now, you have given the presentation in one classroom, is that correct? For one school?
No, I've given it in I've given it in 2.5. I've done a problems and solutions presentation at one of the schools I work at, and I've spoken at that school again, sort of. And then there was another school I had to sort of sell a resource-based economy to them in 15 minutes, and they said they'd let me come back and do another presentation. And ironically, they kept me in there for about an hour or 2 hours after the 15 minutes was up, because they wouldn't really let me go after I told them what it was.
Yeah, they have questions. It's beautiful. Now, how many people did you present to? How many students did you present to on each occasion?
Well, 180 students and parents in the first couple of presentations, problems and solutions presentations, and maybe a sort of a debating group, a sixth form debating group of about 40 the next time, and then there was just a few groups of maybe 10 or 20 in that other occasion, the one in the middle. But the 181 was was very rewarding. Again, after I'd finished the solutions presentation, they kept me and the head of the UK's chapter over here behind for 2 hours 45 minutes.
Wow, with more questions. So obviously it was well received.
Yeah, I mean it was well received, which is inspiring to go in there and sort of tell people something they've never even considered before. And you get all sorts of things. You get passionate responses of, oh, how can you be talking about this? And and that's fine too. People can come at it from with hostility. Sometimes like people are like, oh no, it went really bad because they were all hostile. And it's like, doesn't really matter as long as you get in front of people and you sort of tell them what it is, and try and learn from it yourself. But ultimately, if you expect to go out there and tell people about a far-reaching concept that pretty much challenges probably all of their cultural indoctrination, you can't expect them to just go yippee and jump around.
Right.
Sometimes they're going to be a bit hostile towards you, man.
Right. Now, what's the process for initiating this? Did you send an email? Well, being that you worked at the school, you obviously had an in. But when you go to approach another school, will you start with an email, or will you physically go down to the school and speak with the principal, or how does that work? How do you initialize the process? Initiate.
Wow.
Not initialize.
Yeah. Wow. If I knew that, I'd be getting more gigs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically, I've emailed every school in Hertfordshire, our county around here, which is hundreds, and it's really fallen on deaf ears, or deaf eyes, I should say. But yeah, basically, the phone call system seems to be working quite well now. You phone up, and there's different windows of opportunities at different schools and educational facilities. For instance, at secondary schools here, I suppose they'd be your high schools, we have a citizenship lesson format for sixth formers, which is like the 17, 18-year-old bracket. I don't know if you have something like that in the US. Do you have something like that?
No, not really. No,
really? You don't have like a citizen? It might be called a citizenship lesson where you have outside speakers come in, or
not?
Wow,
not that I can think of. No, no.
No, well, basically, fortunately we have that format over here in sixth forms, at least, and I'm using that format to get in there to talk to kids. You know, they often have an hour of this on a Friday morning, so you're asked if you can do 1 hour one week and 1 hour the next, and it just so happened that on that second occasion I was talking about, they cancelled the rest of their day. To sit around the table and talk to me, which was really humbling, you know,
right.
and inspiring. But anyway, basically, phone up the head of sixth form, you know, or whoever they may be, touch base. And again, I always come from the angle of we're a sustainability movement and an environmental movement. If you bowl in there and go, we want a resource-based economy and we're going to get rid of all money and eventually there'll be no police, armies, navies, prison, you know what I mean? They're just going to go, what the hell is this fruitcake going on about? So, so you kind of have to, I find, coming in from an angle they'll understand, which is environmental issues, which has been propagated in the mainstream media, is a really good angle to approach schools at. And they go, well, yeah, you know, we're all up for environmental and sustainability. Yeah, come on in and have a chat. And that's kind of how you get your foot in the door. And they might ask you to send an email or a letter after that, but at least you've touched base with them, you know, via phone, so they've actually got a voice to the name, so to speak. And I find that's working out quite well for now. Another platform, which I'm sure you must have in the US, is universities. And over here we have student unions. Do you have something like that?
Yes, we do.
Right.
Yes, we do.
Because those are free-speaking platforms to a certain degree, you know? And that's a fantastic way for members to get their foot in the door. And if you don't feel like you can publicly speak, you must have someone nearby in your chapter who certainly does. And therefore, you know, you can certainly book them slots to go and speak at these different venues, because sometimes I find we get all interlocked with each other and clicky within the movement, and we sort of forget that there are millions and millions of people out there who have never heard of a resource-based economy, and that really does have to change.
Yep, 100%. I agree with you on that. Now, are you? That's not what I want to say. Now, what was the age group of the children that you spoke to? Because I am correct, you have 3 different types of presentations for varying levels of children at varying stages of their education. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you done all 3?
I've done 2 levels. There was another presentation, or a couple of presentations I forgot to mention, which were sort of collaboration and sharing games for younger age ranges, like primary school age over here. So you're talking like 7 or 8. I really need help from movement members in a couple of other areas on this site. I need people to come forward with activities that are going to make this direction relevant at very, very young ages, and throughout the age groups that you'll see on the activism page at the website. I need active games that people can in the movement can just pick up on and replicate and in their own area and go to their own schools and do it. And also, obviously, people, like I said earlier, actually booking up and going to these schools with these presentations, with these ideas. And then also the academic side of the site, where people come forward with references from the Daniel Pinks, the Alfie Kohns, not them, but, other educational, what would you call them, scholars and things, and come forward with research to back up the scientific notions behind a resource-based economy educational system as proposed by Jacques Fresco, in The Best That Money Can't Buy, which is actually a chapter Jacques very kindly donated to the site to put up there, and you can go and read that chapter from the book on the site to get an overall picture of what education would be like in a resource-based economy.
Nice. Excellent, man. So is there anybody else, has anybody from within the movement, reached out to you and has begun to, I don't know, because, one thing I want to reiterate is James, you have done a lot of the work already for us, for movement members, in the form that you've already developed the presentations and the curriculum to go in there to give these presentations with. So it's really just a matter of kind of learning the presentation and then getting up and doing it.
Yeah, that was kind of my aim, really. I have been going solo on this this thing, which I kind of understand. A lot of people come through to me and they're like, how can I help? And occasionally I get a decent case study, which I'll add in the next round of add-ons to the site. And occasionally I get a couple of inputs on what we perhaps could be doing. But I haven't really had the sort of flow that I would expect from people to sort of beef up the site, and also from people going, man, I'm gonna book you slots, getting you into schools, and I'm gonna do it myself, and we're gonna replicate this, and I've had some nice noises from people saying that they want to do it in their own chapters and things, but not really the flood that I would personally sort of expect. So. Yeah, I mean, and hopefully that will change over time. But what I've certainly tried to do is give people very, very little excuse. Literally all you do have to do, guys, is go to my website, go to the activism section, go to the 15 to 20 age bracket. There are 2 presentations there that you can completely rip apart and put back together however you want, called Problems and Solutions. You can even amalgamate them if you want, or just use them as they are. Call up your local high school or your local university, student union, or whatever it is. Make the phone call. There's email templates at the site as well, so you don't even have to write an email. You can just copy and paste the email from the site and send it on after your phone call, and then hopefully they'll get back to you and give you a spot there. And then if after that you go in and you speak to, let's just say, and this is something I mentioned in my presentation, let's just say you go in and speak to 180 kids at that particular presentation. If half the Zeitgeist movement membership did this, that's just 200,000 members, then we'd reach 36 million people about to enter this system. That's I don't see how that doesn't sort of smack anybody square between the eyes and think, holy shit, I need to phone my school tomorrow. If that doesn't like rattle your skull and make you think, holy cow, if I'm a member of a movement where I'm actually supposed to be actively pursuing this direction and want to change the world passionately, then you can't do it just on Facebook, guys. You've got to get out there and speak to people who've never heard of this crap before, and speak to people who are going to be willing to accept it, which isn't your usually people, of a certain age disposition. It's usually younger people who are going to understand this direction, especially seeing as, sorry, just to harper on, but especially seeing as the notions of environmental sustainability are being propagated in the mainstream media and they're being taught in schools. So, right. It's right for the picking. We've got to get in there and do this.
You're absolutely right, James. I mean, you're absolutely right. I feel like you're talking to me. And I have all these intentions, as I think, many movement members do have these strong intentions of doing this. We're getting all together, not that this is an excuse, but we're getting a big house together here in Austin, Texas, where the chapter is essentially moving in together, so that we can start to, fine-tune our public activism and not just get off Facebook, but really get into, we're going to hit our farmers markets and things like this with a booth. But I really feel that going into the schools is so important right now. It's really, it's like the key to unlock the door for a lot of these students' minds that are probably, having the same thoughts in class, like, what is this BS? You know what I'm saying? That's how I was. So to hear something like your presentation was so refreshing, I'd imagine it would just be so refreshing for a lot of students as well. And, cause more people to become involved, get interested, talk to other friends, family members, their parents about it. And so it's really just a great thing. And thank you so much, James. And, we'll definitely, man, we want to keep in touch with you. And certainly whenever I book my first, because I feel like I can do this. I feel like I can do what you're doing. I really do. And so we're even talking about, joining a local public speaking group here, meetup called Toastmasters, just to get us, because it really is just about getting over that fear of public speaking. And so I think once you kind of get over that, it's smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, I really agree. I also heard your show on V Radio the other day, and I heard you say a lot of those sorts of things that you guys were doing. You're setting up a Z house, and like you were just mentioning, I think that's really, really awesome stuff. You can properly build a little hotbed of activism if you move in and you think the same. I know this sounds all hippie, man, but something happens, consciously when all those consciousnesses come together and start bubbling, and you actually have you made that phone call today? No. I'm supposed to do that. I'll do that right now, and all that kind of stuff, So it's really positive to hear you guys are really going for it out there and stuff. And I think movement members need to take heed of that the world over, and let's really step this up a notch, because I'm never satisfied. I know that might sound a bit a bit down on things or something, but actually, if you sort of sit there and go, "Oh yeah, man, I'm doing my bit and I'm quite satisfied," then you stagnate, and that's not how you keep moving forward. You've got to be giving yourself a constant kick up the arse, even when and I think, and driving yourself on, because that's what this is going to take.
I agree, 100%. James, thanks for being on the show, man. I think you're awesome. Thank you for all your hard work and everything that you've done. Again, everybody, tzmeducation.org. Go there, thoroughly check it out with a fine-tooth comb. There's so much useful information for you on there. And James, we look forward to hearing back from you soon. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
Thanks very much for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Excellent. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, man. Bye.
All right, now we're going to move into our next interviewee. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will Oscar from Barcelona will be joining us. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us now is Oscar Mateo in Barcelona, Spain. Oscar has been reaching out. He's been really diligent in reaching out to us through our Facebook through the Zeitgeist Live Facebook page, posting all sorts of updates. If you didn't know, there's a full-blown revolution taking place, or protest at least, taking place in Spain right now. The people have basically taken the square in Barcelona. There are some incredible images also for you to see. I mean, it looks like hundreds of thousands of people are down there. And the crazy thing is that this is not being picked up at all by the media in Europe or at least in London and in the United States. And I wouldn't be surprised if parts in Europe are not picking this up, because obviously they're fearful that this type of revolt will catch fire and then spread across the whole continent. So, joining us now is Oscar Mateo. Oscar, how are you, brother?
I'm very happy, very tired.
Yeah.
My throat's sore. Yeah, can't complain.
Well, we really appreciate you staying up so late to be with us. I know it's past midnight your time, so thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
A pleasure.
Okay, so Oscar, man, so tell us, what's it like? There are, as I understand it, people are just full-on setting up camps. Like, they are not moving. Like, they're setting up campsites down there in the square. Is this correct?
Yes, it is. Well, at least to start with, now the camps are spreading in cities and small towns all around Catalonia and around Spain. But the camps we started with are now starting to become like little towns within the town, little cities with almost everything.
Wow. And so the main, what's initiating or what's inspiring this revolt or this protest is essentially the austerity measures that are being taken by the state. And as I understand it, I've heard something like 45% of people of the age 25, or maybe it's even 30 and younger, are unemployed. And is that the main inspiration for this protest?
Well, I wouldn't say the main, but an important part, yes it is. Also the changes in retirement pensions, also cuts in the health services. Those are the things that are starting the thing. But then we're people in the assemblies are starting to realize that most of the things come also from the system. So we're trying to focus on the system itself, the capitalism that is also making a game that creates a lot of problems. So we started from that point on, and that's the reason all politicians say we don't have any proposals or any demands, because we realize it goes further than that.
Sure. So what is it like right now in the camp? Like, obviously you're in your house to do this interview, but in some of the photographs that I've seen, there's people setting up internet services, and they're getting as sustainable or self-sustainable as they possibly can. And so is there a process of I don't know, kind of like a discussion process taking place? Is there, because there's so many people down there, is there a certain time when everybody is gathering to discuss certain topics? How is this going?
Well, any time is a time for discussing topics, actually.
Sure.
Of course, you see the structures. We have a kitchen, we have the internet services that work for communication and for our international section that tries to reach all people, because we are very aware of media trying to hide or distort the information. But there are people's assemblies, maybe twice a day, the most important, about 10 at night, after we start banging frying pans and whatever as a protest that you can hear all around Barcelona and Spain, actually. But before that, we also have some other meetings, and we have 3 squares among the square when you can join and debate. You can argue any point, any idea, any post-capitalistic idea, any idea about the actual situation. You got one of our sections or commissions should be contents where you can discuss the ideologies. Anywhere you find some people gathering, you go there and there's debate and thinking. It's beautiful, man.
That sounds beautiful, brother. Now, have you been injecting the ideas of a resource-based economy? Like, have you been injecting or the Barcelona chapter in these debates, talking about the idea of a resource-based economy?
There's actually a lot of people, not only me, who not belonging to Psychics movement, but they already know. You told them about any kind of documentary, they're aware of it, so they listen. It's not like talking to anyone and it's like, you see this documentary is, what's a documentary? You talk to people and people is very aware of the possibilities. And yes, I've been doing stuff like through contents, pushing the ideas. Also, we had a silver screen to project audiovisuals that got took away by the police now. But we already were intending to project some of the documentaries there.
Wow.
People is... also, there's something I consider very important, because politicians complain we're not making proposals to them. But I think what we're actually after is the thinkers, the artists, the people who really cares, and project the ideas to them. This is something we're trying to do from the contents. So we're reaching sociologists to get these ideas for post-capitalism ideas. We have one commission, one stall just for that. Not only the contents bit, but also the post-capitalism ideas, also pitch the ideas there. Well, right now Cambia is kind of rebooting after the police attack. So we're starting going over a little. But yeah, sure, we are on it.
Now, speaking of the police attacking, the video that I saw that you posted was hard to watch, to see the police attacking the peaceful protesters sitting down, just getting slapped with, batons. How much of that has been going on? Is this a daily occurrence where the police are attacking? And how many police would you say there are? Or have they backed off, and are they still a presence? What's the presence of the armed force?
Well, from the beginning at the campsite in Madrid, they got removed maybe twice, peacefully, just being removed, not attacked. And the problem with that was more people went there. So each time they tried something, more people went there, so they stopped. In Barcelona, we didn't have any problem at all, no police presence at all, till that attack. No fights or major incidents happened inside the camp where I was, mostly like being surrounded while by the police took our stuff, and only just that because people kept sitting in front of the trucks to avoid them taking our stuff. That's where they got attacked. But since then on, no further attacks or police presence. Of course, we're aware some undercover police might be amongst us and trying to move or steal things, but besides that, none at all. We're waiting, because right now, of course, politicians are starting to think that maybe they should, but, well, it's always a possibility. Sure. We're aware of that.
Yeah. Now, what's it like to be amongst so many people in such solidarity? There's, how many people would you estimate are down there at its high point down at the square? Like 50,000 people?
At night, sleeping maybe like 200. During the day, a lot of people just come and go, just to show support or make donations of food or whatever. In the assembly, full square, so maybe like 2,000 up to 5,000 regular during the assemblies. Plus all the people that can follow us online. That's just in Catalonia. Right now, we are also starting to spread. So each neighborhood in Catalonia are starting to have their own assemblies, and we're starting to connect them all the campsites and all the people in the different neighborhoods and small towns.
Wow. This is like, I've been to some festivals where there's some camps at festivals, but that's the kind of festival I want to go to, where it's the revolution and people are setting up camps and then deciding on how we're going to, move on, with the progress, how it's going to go about. I mean, I just think I almost wish I could be there right now, but I know it's just a matter of time before it comes here to where we are. So it's more just like paying attention to what you guys are doing, what's happening in Barcelona right now, because you're almost kind of establishing a bit of a blueprint for the revolution and how, it can be organized and structured and facilitated whenever it comes to, your town.
It has a quite an structure because you can participate in any of the commissions or whatever you feel you're good at or you like to do. And then if you're good at it, then you can develop your own projects and grow. So each commission, if the commission is important enough, it breeds different sub-commissions. So if you're good at it, you can progress on them. So we're actually making a thing, in my opinion, a small culture. A small culture with no government. That's another thing the politicians are quite befuddled for, because they try to reach our leaders to do whatever it is politicians do, but we don't have any. So every time they try to interview or find a leader, each one just gives their own opinion, and by sheer coincidence, we just agree on almost everything.
Yeah.
But we have no leaders, and if you can participate, I participate myself in several commissions, like maybe keeping a little bit of order at night for people to sleep. I participate in content, suggesting ideas, debating, also in international commission. And if you're good at it, if you got the contacts, you just go up in the commission, so to speak. So it's quite not only a blueprint for the revolution, but also I think for a culture, for a way of being a lot of people together. People are really happy. You see it anywhere. People see the progress and the way the camp has grown, and people are really happy about it. I can tell you that, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, it's exciting.
Indeed, it is.
It really is exciting. Is there entertainment at night? And I imagine that, there's drum circles and, maybe street performers, or I don't know, are there bands?
Well, in the outside bit of at night, of course, and in the outside, because people is getting ready to sleep, but sure, some days you can find some jazz combos, some maybe South American music.
Yeah.
By day it's more like a lot of different things, jam sessions and more family-oriented activities. We have clowns, we have different stuff.
It sounds...
We have, how would you say that? The kitchen offers free meals for anyone that goes there. So a lot of homeless people, whatever, also attend there. Just
wow.
We're quite open. Anyone can attend and anyone does, and likes what they see.
Wow. So there's kitchens and they're giving away free food.
Yeah, indeed. That's the first, maybe the first thing we did illegally, because we have our own stoves. And that's not allowed on the street, but yeah, you can go there. We offer breakfast, supper and dinner. So lunch and dinner, sorry.
Wow. So what's the prognosis? I mean, is it basically we're here to stay until?
Well, we decide that almost every Sunday in Popular Assembly. There's been last Sunday we couldn't do it, and yesterday because of rain. So it's been this very night, and we decide to stay. So far, there's no ending to it. Right now we could do it and just keep the assemblies on Plaza Catalunya, because the assemblies has already moved to the neighborhood, as I told you. So we could and carry on with the revolution, but I think it's important right now because it's a sign and it's open for everyone to see and come any day, any time of the day, and see work being done. So we have no particular day for it to end. We're going all the way, I think.
Wow, Oscar. Well, we're going to have to stay in touch with you as this develops.
I hope so, and I hope you join us, because it's quite an experience, man, and just the reward, if we succeed, it could be great. Not for us as Spaniards, but for all people, all youngsters, and for all the world if we succeed, man.
For all the world.
It's very important.
For all the world. And in a small way, you are succeeding right now. Just in this form of solidarity, everybody coming together is in itself a small success. So
I think so, yeah.
It's very inspiring, and we're definitely going to keep in touch with you. Thank you so much, Oscar, for keeping us updated through the ZEITGEIST Live Facebook page. It's awesome, man.
Thanks to you for having me in, and greetings to everyone. You do a great job with the show, man.
Thanks, Oscar. We love you, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you. Good night.
Okay, keep up the strong work. Peace, brother.
No worries, I'll do.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to take a quick break right here. When we come back, we're going to have a conversation with David Gaines, the Chicago chapter coordinator. They had a very successful booth or an activism presence at their local, I believe it's called Green Fest. It was some type of a green festival they had, and John Perkins actually showed up and spent some time with them at the booth, and David actually got a little interview with John Perkins. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Our culture and a lot of the ideas that people hold to be true are basically built upon myths. They're myths built upon myths, and it's because of this foundation of mythology and mysticism, which comes from religious institutions, from political institutions, and so forth, that allow basically larger BS to sit on top of it.
People take things with reservation or with a grain of salt, what have you, and all ideals are emerging, at least they should be.
But you have to stop and look around you today and ask, is this system that that had a place at one time, is that actually still relevant today? Or is it actually maybe holding us back from actually solving a lot of our problems?
Technology is the focal point, or should I say, a train of thought that introduces the society to a better way of understanding the world around us, a better way of understanding what a government, a social system is, or how all these things work.
Money actually isn't a part of the equation of solving the problem. Money is something that's really kind of arbitrarily thrown there in the middle. The Zeitgeist movement's main perspective on solving problems is if you just wipe the slate clean and you look at what is the best way to solve hunger, what is the best way to fix all these problems. The solution to these problems are technical solutions.
Yes.
The solutions do not derive from politics. All that is complete noise, it's nonsense, it's in the way. The whole world can't be rich. That's not the way the monetary system works.
Right. But I mean, when you look around, why are there homeless people in the street? Why are there people starving
when there's empty homes and there's food on the shelf?
We want you to understand that we're not talking about creating manna from heaven or whatnot and so forth.
The technology that you get and the awesome stuff that you see is only what they're able to package and sell to you.
Yeah. Just ideologies, just ways of thinking is what's holding it back.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us now is Mr. David Gaines, Chicago Chapter Coordinator. David, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for being with us. So I wanted to reach out to you guys because y'all had a really successful event at the Chicago Green Festival, and I saw some of the photographs from Facebook, and they just looked fantastic. And yeah, I was really inspired by the work you guys are doing. So first off, great job.
Likewise, we're duly inspired by the work that you guys are doing down there.
Awesome.
Yeah, Greenfest was fantastic. It was a huge turnout. I mean, it was a huge indoor event, and so the place was just packed, and we connected with countless amounts of people. I'm not even sure how many people we got signed up for, the newsletter and events, as well as I think we handed out over like 500 DVDs of Moving Forward.
Dang!
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And one of the most interesting things that I kind of experienced with working behind the booth and talking and dealing with people was that you always have like a certain amount of people who walk by and they give you kind of like an unapproving look, and like But then you're like, would you like a free copy moving forward? And they're like, well, what is that?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they like open up, and like before you know it, these people who you were so sure were just gonna give you a nasty look and walk by, end up having really great conversations with us. And
that's awesome, man.
And it was really positive. We met with a lot of people. We made a lot of connections with a lot of other good organizations,
right.
like PETA. And a lot of other organizations that have Chicago chapters and such.
I want to ask you, did you encounter any resistance? I know that just still with the first film, it went viral and so many people have seen it. When you just mentioned Zeitgeist, it's automatically kind of assumed that, okay, so this is like a 9/11 truth movement or things like this. Did you encounter any type of preconceived ideas of what the Zeitgeist movement was and what it was?
Totally did. And that's a great point you make, because I think a lot of the nonsense that I hear on the net is people who are talking about how we're like a New World Order, anti-New World Order group or something like that. I'm like, did you really not pay attention? Like, I kind of see where people get the misconception from the first film, even though it never says New World Order or anything. It's definitely not anti-New World Order film. It just deals with topics that the NWO group deals with. Anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. But yes, I did encounter that. One gentleman who I was speaking to, it was funny. Like, I walked up to him and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of Zeitgeist. I saw Zeitgeist. It was pretty cool. I didn't agree with everything, but I thought it was pretty cool." I was like, "Oh yeah, the monetary system stuff is kind of hard to swallow." He was like, "Oh no, it was more like like the Illuminati and the New World Order." I was like, "Well, wait, hold on."
Yeah.
Like we don't talk about that. And he was like, "Yeah, I saw the film," and I'm like, "I think you misunderstood. Like what the point was and what we were talking about." He's like, "No, and I didn't want to share into like an argument or anything, but he clearly believed that that's what we were about, despite the fact that I was from the movement."
You were like
telling him that's not what we're about, but okay.
Yeah. I'm the representative for the chapter here in Chicago, and I can assure you that's not what we're about.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, interesting. So, man, so John Perkins showed up, didn't he?
Yeah, and stroke of luck, John Perkins happens to be giving a speech there. So
wow.
I didn't even realize that, going in when we were setting up the booth. It wasn't only until like a couple hours before he spoke that I got word of it. And so it's pretty great. So I, sat down and checked out his speech, and then after that, he, was doing a book signing. And so, a couple of us, just went over there and just started talking to him, and so he, agreed to just, step to the side after the signing and do a quick interview with us. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and just in case for those that don't know, John Perkins was in Zeitgeist Addendum. He's also the author of a couple of books, New York Times bestsellers. Confessions of an Economic Hitman is his most known book. Now, as far as, I'm curious, were you able to kind of get a feeling for his feelings toward a resource-based economy and the Zeitgeist movement in general?
That was one of the last questions that I asked him, and it wasn't directly that. I asked him, excuse me.
Busy man.
I asked him, I basically phrased it, and you'll see it, I think, when you cue the clip here, but, basically, I kind of heard from Peter in a previous radio address that he said that John Perkins really wasn't on board with the resource-based economy, but that, he generally supported the notions and ideas. And so I asked him that, and I asked him, so I get the gist that you don't support resource-based economy, but what kind of monetary reforms would you advocate? And he gave me kind of standard answers. He pretty much said that we need to get rid of the Federal Reserve. We all agree upon that, of course. So, and then I asked him if he had seen Zeitgeist moving forward, and he said he had not. So,
wow.
So a little tear for that.
Yeah, for sure, a little tear for that. Damn, ouch, sting.
Yeah.
So
we gave him a copy, of course.
You gave him a copy. Yeah, you gave him a copy. Now, if you watch it,
hopefully by now.
Yeah, for sure. So, what else do you guys have coming up? Your activism is now. Have y'all done anything like this before the Chicago Green Fest?
Oh yeah. There's there's the Peace Fest, which happens multiple times a year. There's like Winter Peace Fest and Summer Peace Fest.
Cool.
The Summer Peace Fest is coming up here in June. Forget the exact dates, but it's like mid-June on the weekend. I think 17th to 19th, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, there is the Art of His Film Festival, which is coming up, which I believe you guys are taking part in as well.
Yep.
That's really big. That's awesome news.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the Art of His Film Festival, which is based out of Los Angeles, is working with the Zeitgeist movement to expand. Normally it's been annually for the last 8 years in Los Angeles. Or I'm sorry, for the last 7 years. I believe this is the 8th. So this year they're expanding it to 8 major cities. Like Chicago, Austin, et cetera, Atlanta, et cetera. So anyhow, we have that coming up, which is really cool.
And
and then there's also, of course, the Zeitgeist Media Festival, which is coming up in the fall.
Yeah. And so one of the things that is key to being able to do some decent activism work is having a booth set up. Would you agree to this?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, and what was the investment that your chapter made in getting a booth? It's just
this particular event was a little bit expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the booth fee was around $500, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
As far as the actual materials of the booth, usually not that expensive.
Yeah.
And $500 is high. I mean, the Green Festival is a big event here.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would normally cost other chapters who are who are looking to start being a little more active and setting up booths at events. I don't think normally it's going to cost you that much. I'd say depending on obviously the type of setup and the materials that you use, I think it can probably be done for under $100 if you're creative.
Cool. So you guys had you said you gave out 500 DVDs, so you at least 500 DVDs. I'm sure you guys had plenty of just in the photographs that I've seen, it looked like you had a dozen different types of a dozen different pieces of material, of informational materials to hand out. So I mean, along with 3 or 4 different banners that you had, it's a good looking booth you guys have.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. Well, cool, David. Also, this is exciting. You guys have a Chicago ZTV coming up, don't you?
Yes, ZTV is being rolled out. We are on public access, Chicago Public Access TV, and we do a talk show with host Tony Harper, and we just filmed our 3rd episode, which I actually was the invited guest for that episode. And it was really cool. Actually, I'm going to be launching a trailer for that. That hasn't aired on TV yet. We just filmed it. So I'm going to launch out a trailer, which will be also the launching of the ZTV YouTube channel. So obviously, if you don't live in Chicago, you can't tune in to our show, but we'll be hosting it on YouTube.
Well, we definitely want to work with you guys because one of the big things for us is, yes, we broadcast on television here, but we feel that it's really important that we get streaming set up to where anybody can watch, and then like we're doing right now with you, doing essentially Skype call-ins where it doesn't even have to be video. Anybody that wants to chime in to a discussion from anywhere in the world can Skype in.
And, totally. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and so that's really inspiring. And from what I understand, this was inspired through our public access TV show for you guys to do it, and that's kind of been our intention, is to inspire the rest of the chapters to, kind of copy each other. I feel like that's why I'm so excited about this movement, because we all can build off of each other's ideas. It's emergent. It's a bit like a resource-based economy. So awesome, David. Well, hey, man, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with ZTV, and definitely hit me up. Are you going to be doing the editing work? Who's going to be doing the post-production stuff?
Well, actually, right now, that's a good question. Right now, we just do we just shoot it in one take, and they have people in the control room who are queuing up, videos and stuff, and doing the on-screen graphics and the camera rotations and such. And it may stay in that format, or it may begin to get a bit more complicated as far as actually doing a shot and then taking it back and doing more post editing. And I might be taking over that. It really just depends on if I have enough time. I'm also trying to, help them just with, with like the structure of the show and all that. So if there's time to do all that bit, then it might get a little bit more snazzy.
Right on. Now, this video that we're about to watch of the Chicago Green Fest and your interview with John Perkins, this is your handiwork?
Yeah, this is mine. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, awesome, man. Well, I want to say thank you so much again for joining us, and we'll keep in touch with you guys. And, for the rest of you out there, here is the Chicago Green Fest brought to you by the Chicago Zeitgeist Movement. All right, David, we'll see you soon, brother.
All right, Tyson. Good talking with you, man.
You too, man. All right. Roll.
What are your Easily taken out, either by bullets, as Kennedy was, or by innuendo, rumors, whatever, as Clinton was in his own way. And anybody in that White House is very, very vulnerable. Big corporations have tremendous control over our elected officials. They provide the campaign financing. There's roughly 35,000 lobbyists in Washington today working for the corporations. They control the media. We have to recognize that. And it's we, the people, you and I, who must do this.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us now is Scott Keller. Scott Keller for President 2012, as a matter of fact. Scott is a Zeitgeist Movement member down in Tampa, Florida, and he is running for the presidency. Scott, how you doing, brother?
I'm great.
Excellent. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. We got Scott on our audio line, and we'll be hopefully doing a video chat with him in the future here. So Scott, man, tell us what inspired you to go big.
Yeah, we see the same thing in and out. You know, one season after another, the election seasons, where the politicians are basically saying the same things. We have a couple of people that sound a little bit different, but even they don't seem to understand, or at least they're not publicly admitting that they understand what the underlying root causes of the situation we've got.
Yeah.
You know, you got Ron Paul out there that I like a lot of what he says, but he's talking about sound money, and I just don't see where any kind of a monetary system is ever going to be completely sound. And the one thing that I do like about what he says is he actually goes out and says we need to end the Federal Reserve, or at least audit them, or I say we need to end them.
Yeah.
And
an audit would lead to an end. Sorry. An audit would probably lead to an end.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
And I've been watching this stuff for years, and I've been with all these different ideas of how we can resolve things, and some of those ideas are what actually led me to finding the Zeitgeist movement and finding the Venus Project, and just seeking out people that were like-minded.
Being that you're based out of Tampa, you're right there in Florida, have you been out to the Venus Project?
No, I haven't. I've only seen them online. I have reached out to Roxanne once or twice. Definitely once I reached out to her, and I was not sure how to really connect the dots and be able to convince her that it was a good idea for us to work together. But I'm still hoping to be able to speak with them.
Yeah.
I know Jacques, I guess, is having a difficult time communicating at this point. From what I was hearing, that maybe his old age is catching up to him. I think that it would be a great opportunity, this whole campaign, to be able to expose some of those ideas.
Yeah,
and let people know that these options exist.
Totally, man. We're being realistic here. The chances of you becoming president of the United States are low. But what you can do is you can enter these debates and start injecting these issues, these ideas. And I'm guessing that this is your intention?
That's the primary intention, yes.
Yeah.
I want to be able to share with people that they have options that are different from what they've been told. And I've been saying for a long time that if you don't know what all of your options are, it's difficult to make the right choice.
Right.
And we are living in a society where it's either or.
Yeah.
And at least that's what's given to us by the politicians, by the religious folks, by the media. Not all of the media, but a lot of them. They present you one or the other, and those are the two that you get to choose from.
Yep.
But every time I hear that, it's like, no. We've got dozens, at least dozens of potential options to deal with the situation, any situation that we're dealing with, whether we're talking about retirement, we're talking about the poverty in the world, the hunger in the world. We've seen aquaponics, we've seen different forms of farming, we've seen community gardens. It's not Monsanto or nothing.
Right.
It's a matter of just getting into our minds and start innovating, asking some different questions, asking. Anthony Robbins is somebody that I used to listen to a lot, and one of the things that he always said was, if you want a different answer, then ask a different question.
Nice.
If we want to find some solutions to these issues that we've been facing for decades, if not longer, then why are we continuing to do the same thing over and over and over again? Why are we not asking some different questions? Why are we not asking, what's an alternative to what we're doing right now? And that has just been bothering me more and more. Is the more I hear people on TV talking, the more I come up with a frustration that they are not asking these questions. And that was the impetus behind this. And I've been wanting to reach out to people for a while and trying to figure out how to do it without charging people. And like the self-help industry, the motivational speakers, they get out there and they charge people a bundle to come and listen to them.
Yeah.
And the people that need it the most are the ones that can't afford it.
Right. I know.
And so I started asking questions about how can we do that kind of a thing for free? Why should people have to pay to be their best?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
So do you have any experience in politics?
Oh, absolutely none, other than going to the voting booth.
Right on.
I like to get into the debates, but I've never, ever considered running for office before. And if I could find somebody that believes like I do, that has a better background than I do, then certainly I would jump on board with them instead. But I just don't see any choices out there right now. Any full, Zeitgeist, Venus Project, resource-based, alternative economy type people that are willing to say what needs to be said. And so, whether I win or lose, it's still going to be in the win category because I'll
because
be able to open up some minds and get some people talking about some things.
Absolutely. So what's the game plan? Like, how do you, what's your game plan for getting the word out and to be able to participate in the conversation? In the debate?
One step at a time.
Yeah.
I put out a press release, went out this morning actually.
Nice.
And I don't know what kind of response I'll get from that, but I've got a 1-year contract on that. I can put out 2 releases a month, I think is what it is. And they installed some apps on Facebook for me, and they're helping me a little bit. And the rest, I think, is just expanding on Facebook, expanding on the internet, and finding some people that can be representatives in the poorest communities around the country, the ones that generally don't have Facebook, or they don't take the time to get on the computer. A lot of these communities, they just don't see hope,
right.
And I can't stand that hope has been so bastardized in the last election. It's
for real.
They really don't see themselves as having choices,
right.
And they do have choices if somebody can just get in there and share with them some solutions, share with them some ideas.
I agree.
Community co-ops. Community, whether it's a co-op for energy, co-op for education, co-op for
food.
For anything that they are facing as a basic needs struggle.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to come from money. You can bring in resources that are different from money. You can bring in people that know how to teach. There are many ways of educating the people. It doesn't have to be with the public school system, which obviously is geared towards producing robots more than thinking people.
Yeah.
And what I saw in the inner city really almost brought tears to my eyes, because you hear what they say, you see how they live, and in the back of my mind I'm thinking, these people are being ignored, and they're so full of potential, and nobody has gone in there to help them. Even the motivational speakers, Les Brown, who came from an inner city, doesn't go out very much and reach out to these people and share ideas with them. And
there must be a reason for that.
They don't have much of a chance to hear about a Venus project or.
I've thought about it. I've thought about it before, thinking that the people that would be most excited to these ideas would be the poorest, the ones that are in the poor communities, because they just are constantly getting the raw end of the stick. And if you came in with some real deal solutions and some answers to why their conditions seem to stay the same every year and even each generation, answer these questions, that it would motivate them and excite them to get involved. But that I guess that just remains to be seen.
I don't think that I'm any different from any of you guys. So you all are in the same basic boat that I am. Mm-hmm. You're full of ideas, full of solutions, full of awareness, and wanting to reach out and bring everybody else into that awareness.
Well, Scott, let's keep in touch as the race rolls on, and as you start developing your internet, your online presence. I would think that having a YouTube channel is going to be imperative, and to start giving a weekly vlog or something like that, so that people can actually see your face and really see the man behind the words.
I agree.
I saw that on your website. You have a donation button. I know this. Funds are important when doing any type of campaign to get the word out. You got to have promotional materials, and this is what campaign contributions really help with. So, but
my main desire though is not so much the money as much as just getting people to help. Getting people to help spread the word, getting people to help with the website, getting people to feed ideas to me.
Yeah.
I'm not in this by myself. It's certainly not for myself. This is a group effort. Nobody can go in there and do it all by themselves.
Absolutely. No, I agree. What you're needing is you're just needing some support from other people that are inspired and want to help, and for you to be ready to accept that support. Scott, thank you, and we'll have you back on soon. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to bring on our main man, Mr. Chad Fisher. Chad's going to be bringing us the social commentary of the week. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Mr. Chad.
The whole revolution is about values. Values of any kind, What you'll do for $10, what you'll do with $10. Really, it all comes down to values, what you value and how much. And I often think of that, because you can buy anything in this country. The businessmen are the ones that really, kind of got the country where it is, in both ways, in the positive and the negative, man. They did, the businessmen, because there's no morality in business. Just a ledger. Keep it in the black. Show a profit. Keep it in the black. Keep it in the black. Never mind your soul. Never mind the landscape. Never mind the other guy. Keep it in the black. Keep it in the black. Do what you can. Keep it in the black. Business as usual going on. Big plywood up there. Business as usual. Businessman did it.
Meanwhile, this is my last show ever. I'm tired, folks. Tired of spreading the news. Folks, it's time to evolve ideas. That's all we're left with. There's going to be no more thumbs coming down the pike. It ain't happening. Sure, there will be aberrations in evolution. People who take steroids, those fucking guys who pump up, people who do punctures and, tattoo. There's going to be different aberrations. But the true evolution is to evolve ideas. What do I mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? Well, for instance, how about this? Why is the drug czar of this country, first of all, why is there a drug czar? Forget that. Why is the drug czar of this country a cop? Why isn't he instead someone who's been through recovery, who has had an alcohol and or drug addiction and overcome it, and offer instead hope and compassion rather than condemnation and jail sentences to drug abusers? See, that would be evolving an idea.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, brace yourself for the comedic stylings of Mr. Mad Chad Fisher in his weekly social commentary.
We just faked that hug. I saw him earlier. That was totally just for television right there. I swear to God. What's going on, everybody? I'm Chad Fisher, doing the social commentary, as always this week. Hope everybody's enjoying their lovely Wednesday here. I've been thinking about the Bible a lot lately, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit today. It's funny to me that so many people believe in this Bible. You got billions of people that read this stuff all the time, daily, and they can't even tell you who wrote the damn thing, Isn't that hilarious? They can't even tell you who wrote the damn Bible. So, if you had a friend of yours that came up to you that you hadn't seen in a long time, and he's like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Chad? Man, I haven't seen you in a long time. Want to tell you a few things. I started reading this book, right? And it's awesome. It's so fucking awesome. And so I've been living my life by it and everything, okay? I read it daily." I'd be like, "That's pretty sweet. Who wrote it?" That'd be one of the first things you would ask, right? Of course. Okay, who wrote it? Shit, I might want to check it out real quick, who wrote it? And he'd just look at you all stupid and shit who wrote it? What do you mean who wrote it? Well, that doesn't matter. Who cares who wrote it? It's a good book. What the fuck? You don't even know who wrote it? Are you serious? That's a bunch of bullshit. What is wrong with you? You a child? You a baby? Is this story time? Grow up, you jackass. You know what I mean? Like, this is ridiculous. So you're going to live by something that you don't even know who wrote it. And I don't want to hear that bullshit, okay, that Moses wrote it. Don't give me that bullshit. Moses did not write it. So if Moses wrote it, so he wrote about his own death, really? I heard a priest. Yeah, so that's magical shit. He should be writing for Sports Illustrated right now. We'll be flying off the shelves. So this dude wrote about his own death, supposedly. And I heard a priest or a preacher or something like that say one time, like, oh, well, he wrote about his death as it was happening, and he was crying. The fuck? Really? Are you serious? You really believe this? Are you serious right now? Like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and call bullshit. That's straight bullshit. Are you serious? Really? Okay? That's hilarious to me, you know? Like, stop it already. It's funny as hell that like 99% of the people that believe in the Bible can't even tell you how many times it's been revised, how many times it's been retranslated, how many times different people have influenced it and subtracted and added to it based on their own homophobic, racist needs, you know? And that's hilarious as hell, you know? And let's not even get into the language, okay? Like, think about how much language has changed in the last 2,000 years. You know, think about, okay, for a point of reference, let's think about Shakespeare. Okay, compare Shakespeare, the Shakespearean language to today's language. And how much has that changed? In 400 years. 400. You know what I mean? Half those goofy bastards couldn't even decipher a Dylan Thomas poem, and that shit was 50 years ago. So they're going to have a hard-ass time figuring out what the hell the Bible was all about. Jesus. Half of these fuckers can't even understand The Office, you know? That's like over their head. Shit. I don't understand. So he's dating her and then whatever. Like, come on. This is ridiculous. So you don't know who wrote the thing. You don't know how many times it's been transcribed. You don't know basically anything about its origin whatsoever, and you still believe it. That's ridiculous, you know? That you're a moron. Plain and simple. You're a damn moron. Let's just not pull any punches here. But then they throw you the curveball, you know? These Christians and these Bible believers, they like to throw you this curveball like, oh, well, God spoke to prophets and they wrote his words out. Like, really? So they saw God and then they wrote, was anyone there? Was anyone with them? Did anyone else witness this? Well, no, it was in his head or he was sleeping. Well, then sometimes they came to him. It was a bunch of different stuff. So basically what you're saying is that they hallucinated God, okay? They hallucinated. No one else saw him. It was usually like one person, right? Even if it was four of them, who gives a shit? They could have made that up real easy. You know what I mean? So they hallucinated God. Let me tell you something. The only time I hallucinate things is when I'm tripping on mushrooms, okay? That's the only time I'm hallucinating. You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Come on now. This is ridiculous. So none of this stuff is real, you know. These goofballs hallucinated God. And like I said, you know, the only time I'm hallucinating shit is when I'm on drugs, you know. And hallucinate Jerry Garcia with like little dancing cupcakes on his shoulders, you know, tippy-toeing around. And then, because I'm not a jackass hungry for power, you know. That's my downfall. Sorry. I could do better. Have some pretty good nights in the closet. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. You know. And then let's get into the fact that there's like basically no scientific evidence whatsoever that the Bible, any of the events in the Bible took place. We have pottery, all kinds of different artifacts, but we can't seem to hold on to. We can't find any proof floods occurred, that Moses parted the Red Sea, any of this goofy shit. You know what I mean? Like, get out of here. This is ridiculous. What is wrong with y'all? I'm going to keep going, too. I'm not done. There's no scientific evidence of this, you know. So, another thing is that, you know, the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we don't know who wrote those at all. Actually, they were written anonymously, if you want to be factual. They were written anonymously, so these goofballs didn't even put their name on it. I wonder if they believed in it. At least they were right behind it, you know. That's awesome. Way to stand behind your work, guys. Get out of here, man. It's so ridiculous. Mark, Luke, and John, and probably any of the books for that matter, none of the original manuscripts have ever been found. Ever. Okay? Ever. The original manuscripts. Never even been found. You know? Another thing is that Paul, in the book of Paul, or what have you, is that what it's called, Paul? I'm sure they have one. Yeah, I'm sure they gave him a couple paragraphs at least. But Paul, if you didn't know this about Paul, first of all, he had like the worst handwriting in the world. His handwriting was atrocious. This is documented fact. His handwriting was atrocious, and he wrote in shorthand. Okay? They would be taken like via horse or black man, whatever, you know. Somebody would ride one of the two. The next town, and the next town would transcribe it. So this thing is, you know, even by like the original 5th copy of this, I'm sure is magnificently different than the one that goofy ass shorthanded Paul wrote. You know, he did eventually get a scribe, but until then, his handwriting was atrocious. And you still believe it though? That's amazing. You know, the stories in the Bible are incredibly amazing, but I think your naivety is even more so. Fucking idiots. You know? Another thing is that a lot of the people that believe in the Bible don't understand how many times it's been subtracted from, or added to by kings. Okay? Kings did this. Based on their own homophobia, racism, ignorance, thirst for power, okay? It's been retranslated so many different times. King Henry VIII, I believe, was one of them, okay? So many different kings have done this. And not only that, during this time, just so you know, Christianity wasn't the only religion at the time. There were many other religions. Texts seem to have been passed down as long as the Bible has, and that's because the people that believed in the Bible went around murdering anyone who didn't believe in the Bible, and then they burned their texts. Okay, they burned their religious texts. Okay, so they went around just murdering people, which, as you know, is incredibly Christ-like. I'm sure he would have done the same thing. I'm sure. I think Paul wrote about that one, actually, if I do recall. So in closing here is that what I don't know from Christians, religious folks, anybody who just generally believes in and practices the teachings in the Bible, I want to know what your solution is. Because there's billions of you bastards. You can't come together on this, okay? What is your solution? Because we're tired of this vapid bitching, okay? You giving money to the Red Cross does not solve shit. It doesn't solve anything, okay? As good as it makes you feel, it doesn't solve anything. You think that because the Bible predicted this Armageddon-type ending to the world, are you just going to sit back and not do shit? Because to me, that's helplessness. A very close second to depression, okay? What are you going to do? You're just going to sit back like, oh, shit, well, this is what God said. You know? Like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? What is your solution? Praying doesn't do shit, so don't give me that either, okay? Because your prayers haven't fixed anything. You know, 50,000 kids still die every damn day because of a lack of food and water. Don't matter how many times you pray, it still didn't do shit, okay? So let's wake up. You know, and the thing is that I'm not against God. This isn't me up here saying like, oh, fuck God. I'm not saying that. I want to believe in God. That would be awesome, okay? That would be super. I'm not against it, but I need some damn proof, okay? I'm not a child. I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. I'm not a dumbass. Sorry. Proof is in the mushrooms. For real, you know? That's the thing, is that, yeah, I've probably come closer to God on my mushroom trips than any of you other Bible-humping bastards ever will. You know? Christ. But the thing is, like I said, I want to believe, you know? That would be awesome. If God does exist, fuck, it'd be great to get some help right about now, dude. You know? Shit. The thing is that until I get that proof, I'm not going to sit back and just rely on some 2,000-year-old text to save my ass. It's not going to happen, you know? It's not going to happen. So that's why I support the Zeitgeist movement, because we're trying to change this shit, and we're not going to take no for an answer. We're going to make it happen. Peace. Chad Fisher.
A5, 1, 2, 3, 4, which puts you up to the top row, and the final two questions. Could this happen? Or more precisely, what we want to know is, could this happen in the near future? Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. It should happen, and it should happen sooner than later. It has to. Or we'll continue to see this money game, this Ponzi scheme fall apart and ruin lives as it collapses, and we'll continue to waste our dwindling resources and poison our environment to keep that vicious consumption cycle turning. And we'll continue to see our young people heading off to war and coming home in coffins or without their limbs. Just should happen soon. It has to happen. But could it? All right, well, actually, yes, it could. And there are two main reasons why it could happen now, whereas just 10 or 20 years ago, it wouldn't have been possible. And reason number one, technology. Oh, yes. These automated production lines, computerized robotics. You know, most of us aren't aware of how far we've come in a short time, how this technology has advanced. Yeah, this is our workforce now, and they could do 70, 80% of this work now in the next decade, and maybe 90% the decade after that. The rest could be done by volunteers, people who are interested in this technology, who see it as a challenge to put these systems into place and improve them and bring them up to maximum efficiency. But with all these war games we keep playing, we'd have to stop that, right? We'd have to grow up. But how can we do that when our leaders keep telling us that those people hate us and they want to kill us, and their leaders are saying the same thing to their people? Which leads us to reason number two, which is technology. Yes, once again, the big winner. But not the automated systems we were talking about. This time it's the communication technology. You can go anywhere, visit with people on the other side of the world. For the first time in our history, we're able to virtually walk into their living rooms and get to know them and realize that they don't want to fight wars either. They don't want to invade other countries or have theirs invaded, be put in a position to kill or be killed just because our leaders are finding it too difficult and too profitable to arrive at a peaceful solution. Obviously, it would have to be on that huge, massive scale from the bottom up, but we can do this now because of this amazing technology that enables all the people in the world to see that we're basically the same, and it's actually possible for us to be friends. Now when they say, oh, those people want to kill us, we can say no. Most of those people don't want to have anything to do with your war games and power struggles. And we know that because we've talked to them. Yeah, while you've been threatening their leaders and they've been threatening you, we've gotten to know these people, and they're just like us. They don't want that world anymore. And it's time for you to stop it right now. Yeah, stop it, grow up. Enough of this biggest bully on the playground routine. We're not going to play that game anymore.
Loads full of lyrics like legitimate relevance. Spinifying gems into the mud like metal shoes to the scud. Deconstruct it, reconstruct it, and use it for good. I melt down tanks and guns for automation, hydroponic stations and desalinization. My methodology has been proven to work. Your entire system is sham and your money ain't worth dirt. I seek to understand man and build some machines. Your cerebral insufficient, just keep on consuming.
And that's going to do it for our show this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to thank, this concludes our Season 2 of Zeitgeist Live. Please tune in to zeitgeistlive.tv for our latest updates. We've just done a nice site revamp, thanks to Pam Humphrey and Ryan Bain. Oh, there I am. Also, want to thank all the guests that were on our show this evening. We had a fantastic show, and please join us each week. For the rest of the summer, we're going to be doing pre-recorded shows. So stay tuned to ZeitgeistLive.tv as well as our Facebook page, Zeitgeist Live, for updates on how you can become involved with the show. Hopefully, we're going to be streaming on our streaming page, whether that's Ustream or Justin TV. We're still working it out. But we're also going to be doing live Skype call-ins. So if you would like to get involved in the show during one of our roundtable discussions, just Skype in. We're going to be establishing a Zeitgeist Live Skype account as well. And yeah, also I want to send a shout out. A couple weeks ago we had a show with Broken Sidewalk Farms, Thad from Broken Sidewalk Farms. Well, Thad is making the trip up to Missouri to study with open source ecology. The guy behind Steve Merchant of Open Source Ecology. So that's really good stuff. Thad is really doing a lot of work to bring some sustainability to Austin. So I want to send him a shout out. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon. Peace.